Hello, everyone. Welcome to the kickoff of this school year's Saturday Math. Yes, this school year is starting. I'm not sure if you're aware. Maybe I'm here to break the news to you, but the 2025-2026 school year is here. But no worries, because I have been planning your math lessons all summer long. And today I'm going to give you the behind the scenes of what has already been planned. And through each of our Saturday Maths this year, I will talk about how those plans are being implemented. So, good morning and welcome to Saturday Math. This is our free 90-minute event once a month, and we are just starting this school year's sessions. I am your lead matheneer, Jay Z in the house, Jonalee Zupanzik, and I literally have been working for 2 solid months on the lesson plans that we are going to bring to you this school year. So I'm going to kind of take us back to what we need to think about to kick off the school year. What are the absolute essentials? And as I do that, I want to let you know that I am implementing all of these plans this year. So every year I partner with certain grade levels and teachers and certain schools. So this year, so each year I have the opportunity to actually implement plans in certain grade levels. So this is my this year partner grade levels. Dun 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 dun. Nobody knows this yet. This is all new. And if you're new, everything's new today. So welcome if this is your first time with us. You haven't missed anything except the last 7 years of growing mathematically. No, just kidding. Hey, everybody starts today, day one. This is day one. So I am here to reveal to you which grade levels I am partnering with this year, that I will actually be teaching the lessons that I'm going to share with you. And they are, I still need my notes because it's not all in there yet. So this year I am heavily focused on collaborating and partnering and implementing our math model in grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. So that's easy to remember, 2, 3, 4. Grade 8, algebra 1, and ding, 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 algebra 2. Now, for some of you, you're gonna think, well, algebra 2 is way beyond. However, what I teach on was all developed, even for like K1, 2. Everything that I teach on was developed as essential outcomes necessary for success in Algebra 2. So what's really exciting this year is I will be implementing at the Algebra 2 level as well. So those are my personal grade levels this year: 2, 3, 4, 8, Algebra 1, and Algebra 2. Our certified coaches are covering grade 1 and grade 6. So in grade 1 and grade 6, those have been implemented for years. They will add some tweaks this year that they will share and tell us about and show us and help us explore with them. But grade 1 and 6 are covered by our certified coaches. Krista, give us a wave. Krista is a longtime full implementer of this model at the grade 6 level. And her partner in crime, which is Natalie, Natalie couldn't be here today, is also 6th grade implementer. Fun story, Natalie, also certified coach with us, was Krista's student teacher a good, what, how many years ago now? 6? Oh my gosh, she's growing up. She's growing. She's not here today, but I will tell her about the recording. She's growing up. But Natalie was Krista's student teacher, and now they teach not at the same school, but in the same district, and they both teach sixth grade, and they have been heavy implementers of the model, which I'm going to share the pieces of the model today and the getting started guide for your kickoff to this school year. But Krista and Natalie heavy implement in grade 6. So you will see samples of that this year. And then Amy Garrison, our littles teacher. She's our littles teacher. She's been a grade 1 teacher, I think, her entire career. I don't know. I always forget. We should ask her. But I think she's taught grade 1 her entire career. And I think she is probably on year 26 or 27 at this point. So Amy Garrison is one of our certified coaches at
She
grade
also taught
1.
kindergarten. Sorry to interrupt you.
Perfect. And so Amy is our heavy grade 1 implementer, and she will be bringing all of her secrets to you this year as well. So that's like the way back background. And the theme of the model is what I have here, and that is depth. So Saturday maths are a little different than like a textbook guide, or when you go to Teachers Pay Teachers and you grab these lessons and that just keeps you in survival mode. Like they're ready made, ready to go. Different than if you like Google a task or an activity. So typically the textbook resources that we have, Teachers Pay Teachers, anything we find on the internet is keeps us going. Keep not saying those things are bad. However, the way that I'm going to define them are shallow. Okay. So we talk about this mile wide, inch deep, and we never get the depth in our classrooms. There's a few reasons why we don't get the depth. And one of the reasons is these grab and go things that we do to keep our sanity that we're not going to stop doing because we have to teach multiple minutes a day for 180 some days. So our model, the Minds on Math model, is not intended to be 180 some days for all of your minutes every day. However, it creates more depth in less time. So filling those other days, we need those shallow, non-depth items. And I throw textbooks in there because textbooks are merely a checklist of what to teach. They do not come close to the depth of connections and associations of pure mathematics. So I want to set us up today for take me 2 months back in June when I started really heavy planning for this year based on all of my previous years, but really starting from scratch this year. These are the things that I'm thinking about as I'm putting my lessons together, is that extreme depth of the model and how we generate that depth, and just the difference between a depth planning and a shallow planning. A depth planning and a shallow planning. And then that's the difference between a deep lesson and a shallow lesson. And both are necessary. Like kids can't cognitively handle deep lessons every single day, every single minute. Okay, that's cognitive strain. So we need some like shallow, no-brainer, like things that are not deep to intermix with the depth. So as I'm thinking about the entire model in June and what I'm going to be implementing in August, I'm just verbalizing. I took a lot of notes this year in my planning because oftentimes I will show you these lesson plans that I have, but without the secrets of how they were developed and all of the thinking and decision making that happened before I show you the result of the product is all hidden. And then by the time I produce the product, I don't remember the thinking and decision making that went along the way to make that happen. So this year, I was very intentional at documenting So as I'm thinking, as I'm planning, as I'm structuring, as I'm doing my whole process that I do every single year, I would pause and I would analyze, okay, what did I just do to get to this point? And that's what I'm going to give to you today. Plus, the practical, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of things that I'm going to be implementing like day 2, 3, 4. And you can walk away with that today. But it's really, really important to understand what goes through my mind or our certified coaches' minds as we're planning for the school year and take you behind the scenes to that. Because the goal is I want us all to think differently about how we plan and design our lessons. There's an art to it, there's a savviness to it, there's a structure to it. Here comes our first grade friend, Amy. Look at that girl. She's here. There's a structure to it. Um there's just an essence to it that you can't get in any publication or reading material. So that's what we are bringing to you. So depth is our theme of the model. And if I take a few steps back, and I had to analyze this year, there are actually different categories of math content that I select from, really on a weekly basis. Now, if you know Peter and the book Building Thinking Classrooms, he talks in that book about curricular tasks, non-curricular tasks, different types of tasks. This is kind of like what I'm talking about, but it's not for the task or the lesson. It's for the overall content that I need to cycle weekly. Now, this is even new if you're a certified coach or you're a regular, because I really went back and did some deep digging this summer as to really what these categories are. And I'm not sure if these are going to be solid or if they're going to stick, but these categories, as I was trying to think about this before I did any planning. And then as I was doing my planning of my slides and all of that concrete, like practical stuff, everything fit into these 4 categories. So I kept double checking myself. So the number one category that we need to visit weekly in our classrooms is number. I mean, that's probably not going to come as a surprise to anyone. However, much of what I talk about, there are 2 types, and I'm going to do it this way. Number in its sense of number sense, which is a very conceptual, innate type of experience. And then number as in fact fluency, which is a much more algorithmic procedural type of experience. These 2 things are equally important. However, they are completely polar opposites. And the way that we have to think about improving number sense and fact fluency are 2 different types of thinking. And the way that we provide experiences in our classrooms to improve number sense and fact fluency are 2 different types of experiences. But bottom line is, number is a huge category that needs to be addressed weekly, whether it be through a lesson plan from the textbook, we integrate this into it, or a quick 6-minute stimulus, or a quick, 4-minute final class launch. So one category to build depth is number. The second is lots of experience with symbol. symbol that is not even at our grade level, symbol that is above our grade level. Because another part of engaging in really rich depth in during the school year is giving kids lots of exposures without expectation of mastery. Lots of exposures without expectation of mastery. So, symbol is the one way to give lots of exposures of things without the expectation of mastery. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. So, something like 2 to the negative 3. You wouldn't think I would show that to fourth graders, but I do because I want them to be exposed to symbolic representation. Because the bottom line is exponents are repeated multiplication. So think about this. Exponents are repeated multiplication. And repeated multiplication, like repeated addition, is iterating. That's one of my favorite words. Iterating, iterations. Kids practicing iteration, meaning repetition of the same thing over and over and over again. Repeated multiplication, repeated addition are iterating. So repeated multiplication is exponent. Repeated addition is multiplication. That is a mastery at grade 3. So when our kids are, 8 years old. Repeated addition being symbolized as multiplication, really the mastery, the standards are at grade 3. So when we're at grade 3 and we're talking about repeated addition, hey, that's multiplication, and we want kids to master that at that level. Well, first of all, at K1-2, we better be doing a lot with iteration and repeated addition. If we want the mastery of multiplication around about grade 3, 4, then at K1-2, we need to have lots of exposures of multiplication symbol. So for example, 4 times 5. Multiplication can be symbolized with parentheses or a dot or an X or lots of ways. At K1-2, we want to be exposing this symbol. And the way that we're going to say this to improve number, because really the way to improve symbol, or I'm sorry, let me say that the other way. The way to improve number is to focus on symbol. And the way to also improve number is our next category, and that is shape. So in order to understand symbol, we have to understand number. In order to understand number, we must understand shape. And again, I'm going to give you the practical, I'm going to show you a practical lesson on a slide deck today that is the result of this type of thinking planning. And you might say, I'm not sure I really care about this. And that's why we continue to have shallow teaching, because we're not focusing on the right pre-planning items. So let me go back to this multiplication and this symbol. I wanted to give you the other pieces there, but let me go back to this. So I need in kinder and grade 1 to be showing different symbols that mean multiplication. We're not really teaching multiplication. Multiplication doesn't need to be mastered in K1-2. But see, that's where we fall short and we don't get the depth and we don't get the retention of the content, is because we expose and master, or the expectation is to expose for the first time and master the content all in one grade level, 1 year. But if I need mastery of multiplication at grade 3, grade 4, Then at K1, 2, I need to show all of the symbolic representations of symbol. But then my lesson plan looks like this. My lesson plan looks like this. Oh, what does 4 mean? It means I might have 4 things. But 5 means I have those 4 things 5 times. So what did I just do here? The exposure of symbol way prior to the grade level it needs to be mastered is essential for mastery. So in K1, 2, I'm showing symbols of multiplication. I'm telling the kids, don't worry about this. This might be a stimulus one day. I might just put this on the board and say to kids, tell me about that. Tell me about that. And they might not have even seen parentheses in reading yet. So this is good. We can get the advantage in math. We can identify parentheses with math before they do it with reading. We take it. We take it. But we just say, this is just a symbol that we use sometimes that just means, 5 groups of 4, 4 groups of 5. This is what it looks like visually. And the kids might say, oh, like on a 120 chart, we can skip count by 4s 5 times. So we start kind of connecting all of those exercises and experiences we do in our classroom. So in order to improve number, we've got to have much more exposure to symbol. So if you take nothing else away from today to launch your school year, it's to go at the standards higher than your grade level and find some symbolic notation, Google the internet, things like unit circle, logarithms, things like coordinate plane, or equations with variables, inequality symbols, just anything at all that you can Google. Just Google math symbols. And once a week, show kids a math symbol that is not expected to be mastered at your grade level, something from above your grade level, and just show it to kids and ask them, tell me about this. And then you can give them you can do some little teaching on what that symbol actually means. And I always tell kids, you don't need to know this. This is big kid stuff. Like, you don't need to know this. With my 7th and 8th graders, I tell them when I show them, even my 4th and 5th graders, I'm like, you guys shouldn't be learning this. I'm just showing you this. You don't need to understand it. The way that we do this, if you followed us, there's a paper folding exercise that actually gives us the visual, concrete version of what this actually means. Very cool. Okay. But the point is, there are lessons that go with this, but the point is just exposures to symbols. And even my 6th and 7th graders, I'm like, look, this is really high school stuff. This is really algebra and higher stuff. But I want to show you these things now, and we're going to kind of unpack what it means concretely and visually. You don't need to know it for sure. You don't need to master it. You don't need to know it for sure until the next couple of years. But I'm going to just show you some things now that you're not expected to remember. And they get those exposures. And that's how not only we get depth, but we get higher levels of achievement with kids. And again, in June, just 2 months ago, I mean, for hours almost every day, I would sit down and analyze, how did I become the teacher that I am today? What are all of the things that I have to think about, decision make on, checklist, categorize? Where does it all fit so that when I bring you lessons, you know where my brain was in producing that lesson? And I was very successful this summer at being able to, I'm just really proud of doing this and being able to have done this. So super excited about this. So number, bottom line, every week we want to cycle in something with number. That's no surprise to any of you. You're doing that all the time. But symbol might be a little new twist for this year, is exposing to these symbol things weekly or twice a month even. Something beyond your grade level. You set a timer for 7 minutes. You say, tell me about, what do you guys think about this? What do you think it means? Maybe you don't even teach on it. You just move on and let them just fester in all of their misconceptions. Because it's okay for them to have misconceptions and misunderstandings because I'm not having them go and do, 12 problems solving this repetitively. So they're not practicing something wrong. They already have a misconception. I don't have to fix it right now. I only know they have the misconception because I extracted it. If I would never have done that, they still would have had the misconception. I just wouldn't have known about it. So you got to talk yourself through these things. So in order to really understand number, we must explore symbol. And when we're exploring symbol, our goal is really to improve number. I mean, look at these lessons. When I do some of these teaching experiences, it's really about understanding number. The symbols are describing a value, a number, a position on a number line. That's what the symbols are describing. And so we want to continue to cycle symbol, number, symbol, number, symbol, number. But here is the key to really improving number sense for both areas, number sense and fact fluency. And the key there is to understand shape. And I've already kind of done that for you. I gave that example when I gave this visual, this dot, this set of arrays, this whatever it is. The only way for kids to have a deep understanding of number, the magnitude of number, magnitude meaning how large or small numbers are, the size of a number, the value and quantity of number. In order for students to really understand that at a deep level, they must see number as shape. That's kind of the bread and butter of our model. And some of you know this if you're a regular. The bread and butter of our model is the visual component of shape to improve student understanding of number. So if I expose my fourth graders 2 to the -3 at an exposure level, they don't need to master it for years. But if I use a concrete experience, such as paper folding and iterating folding paper to concretely and visually through shape, if I can show that. Now, let's keep in mind, many of us as high school teachers can explain this and do it and show all of the symbol representation of it. But how many of us can actually show a concrete, shape-based, visual, conceptual, contextual image of what this looks like? And that is the bread and butter of the Minds on Math model. That's what we have for you on our slide decks. So when we give you our slide decks for you to implement, you're going to get all of the shape-based visual components to make those connections to symbol and number. But without understanding the depth of the planning that my brain has done, the implementation is going to still be very shallow. So in order to implement our resources, you've got to have a deep understanding of the planning and the why and the what behind how those resources were developed. And they are developed with the cognitive function in mind. So let's back up for a minute. Our whole theme, depth. We don't want mile wide and inch deep. And nothing does that for us except our implementation. The standards as they're written are not mile wide, inch deep. And they're also not mile deep, inch wide. Our instructional facilitation and delivery is what creates the depth. So if we say, this mile wide, inch deep, That's a result of our instruction. Sherry and I have been planning for a master class that's coming up on August 13th. And the one thing that I just keep repeating for this master class is the number one, the number one factor in student achievement, and research says this time and time again, the number one factor in student achievement is the quality of the teacher. And the quality of the teacher is dependent on the way we're thinking about our planning, our design and planning of lessons, and then the delivery, the implementation of that design. So the Minds on Math model does all of that. That's why I say when we go to Teachers Pay Teachers, we grab a lesson, it's ready to go, we copy it, we do it in our classroom. It's easy, it keeps our sanity. I'm not telling you to not do it. Like, please. Like, there are like 2 weeks at a time where we're just going to worksheet kids to death because life gets in the way. And that's okay, because I only need 60 days of this type of planning and teaching, 60 days or less, to have kids master my curriculum. So whatever we do in those other days doesn't matter. We don't need 180 days to gain mastery for our students of our standards. We do if we're using a textbook as our guide. We do if we're using the standards as a checklist. Do you see? It all comes back to the quality, the savviness, the artfulness of a teacher and their ability to plan, design, and deliver lessons and experiences that create depth of the content. And that is what we do at Minds on Math. So as I'm planning, even before my planning of my lessons, as I'm planning what's essential and what needs to be cycled every week for ultimate student achievement, that's what's in red here. Every week I'm doing something with number. Now, we have the lessons, we have the examples of how to do this, but just understand that we're always defaulting to this. What did I do this week that's improving understanding of number? What am I doing weekly that's improving exposure to symbol, not understanding and not mastery of symbol? Not understanding and not mastery of symbol, but exposure to symbol. Exposure to symbol years prior to when the symbol needs to be mastered. So if 2 to the negative 3 concepts need to be mastered, let's say in Algebra 1, then I'm showing this symbol to my 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th graders at an exposure level every year. If multiplication needs to be mastered at grade 3, 4, then I'm showing symbolic representation of multiplication just as an exposure. No expectation of mastery, but the exposure has to be there K1, 2. We are missing the boat on that. That is why if you are here today or you're listening to this recording, it is August 2025. We've got to analyze our weekly cycles of these top components: number improvement, symbol exposure, and the only way to improve this number understanding is through symbol. And the only way to really improve number, whether it's innate, intuitive sense of number or fact fluency of number, is to understand and see number as shape. And we do that for any symbolic representation that we use in a lesson. It's this representation of number as shape. Now, there ended up being one more category, because as I launch the school year, I do a fun, like every other day or so, not only do I do a content stimulus, but I do something that's going to engage students in problem solving, critical thinking. And I have some of my favorite problems for this. I typically don't teach on these because they're not directly related to content. I'm going to give you one example. It's called the wolf and river problem. Okay, so there's a wolf, a goat, and a farmer, and there's a river and a boat. And all three of them are on the same side of the river, and you got to get all three of them to the other side of the river, but only two can go in the boat, one or two at the same time. And then there are parameters. Like you can't leave the goat and the wolf together because the wolf will eat the goat. Like it's one of those types of things. That experience is not going to help kids solve multi-step variables on both sides equations directly. But there are ways that I need to train the brain to access these symbols mathematically. There are certain things that I need to do as a math teacher to train the brain on a weekly basis so that kids have less barrier and restriction to comprehending the mathematics. So I'm putting this in a category called logic. But typically, and don't get me wrong, typically like a logic puzzle are those grids where you have like, four names and four candies or whatever. And, Jake doesn't have the starburst, but, blah, 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 blah. That's a type of this. Those are called logic puzzles, but I'm not a fan of those. I don't hate those, but I'm not a fan of those. But things like the wolf and river, or the bucket problem would fall into this, where I need to produce 7 quarts of a liquid, and I have like a 3-quart and 5-quart bucket. So, and I call that the bucket problem. So I'm just trying to give you some examples of those aren't necessarily going to improve anything symbolic or number. They're not our examples of number as shape. But what this is going to do, and I do this all the time, and I never really share this when I do Saturday maths and stuff. Most of our focus is on the content-based stuff. And you might think, oh, that's kind of the logic stuff that she does anyway, because the way that I deliver lessons and experiences really does this. But there are certain tasks that I use that are not our typical tasks, like Wolf and River, like the bucket problem, things like that, that I never even share, because the biggest backlash that comes is, yeah, but I have to teach the real stuff. So then I just quit sharing. But I do this in the classrooms that I am in charge of kids, because these things here, these non-curricular things, these non-directly related to standards, are the brain training that kids need on a weekly basis, maybe once a week, something, once a month even. At the beginning of the school year, I would do more frequently and then let it trail off as the school year goes. But there is this other category of things that I do in my lessons that I typically don't put on my lessons that I share. But these are the 4 categories, as I've analyzed, to create depth in the school year: number, symbol, shape, and logic. And again, why do I have this here? Because as I'm now planning content, lessons, and experiences, everything really fits in one of these 4 categories. But I need each category. I need something from each category every week. So if I get to the end of 2 weeks and I get to the end of 2 weeks and I go back to everything that I did with my kids in the previous 2 weeks, if it's all symbol, 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 that is, I've done nothing for depth. In order to get the depth, every week I have to have something from each category. We get caught up and fixated on like one of these categories. And a lot of times we're like, oh, we're going to improve number sense. But really what we're doing is this. So then we have a misconception of the lessons we're actually delivering because we're like, oh, these three lessons are all about number and improving number sense. When really, when I watch teachers then implement them, I'm like, your lesson was just about symbol. That's not going to get us to number. So these are like way background ideas that I've never even really thought about this way, but I actually did 20 years ago when we were first developing the Minds on Math model. And I had to re-extract all of this year so that I can help you all think in planning in this way. And so that when I share with you our practical lessons and slide decks, you know where and why and with what intention they are developed. And when you use your textbook resource, because I said before, the textbook is just a checklist of things. It creates shallow lessons and experiences. The textbook itself is not going to gain you the depth. However, with this type of planning thinking, you can use any textbook and get the depth because of the way you're re-imaging, replanning the lessons that are in the textbook. I can pick up any textbook resource at all. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's Glencoe from the 90s, doesn't matter if it's Bridges from today, Go Math, uh, Singapore Math, Saxon. It doesn't matter. I could pick up any textbook and plan my year lessons. Really, in 60 days, I'm going to expose the entire textbook because I don't do one lesson at a time. Like I just have a different type of planning. But I can pick up any textbook, and with this type of planning thinking, that textbook delivery, the delivery of the lessons in that textbook are going to be game changing. This is why we just really have to be careful when we say you've got to teach your textbook, your curriculum resource with fidelity. I'm going to use Krista and Natalie as an example. Krista and Natalie both teach sixth grade. They teach in the same district, but at two different schools. So they have the same curriculum resources. They have the same guides. Krista and Natalie are going to produce different results with their kids. It has nothing to do with the textbook. Nothing. It's all based on the design and delivery, the artfulness, the savviness, and the quality of the design and delivery of the teacher. So if we want to scale math achievement, we have to focus on the teacher. Us. We have to focus on us. So it's not about a book. It's not about finding the program. It's not about this because we've done that for years. And two teachers can teach the exact same thing with the exact same training and the exact same everything. And one teacher can get great results and the other not with the same type of kids. And we've analyzed this over and over again. So how do we do it? Well, it doesn't matter what resource we use, in all honesty. What matters is the pre-planning and planning that goes in and the design of that and the components that we're cycling in as we deliver lessons weekly. And these are the components that I've landed on as I've been very deliberate and intentional about my planning for this school year. Now, beyond this, okay, so this is kind of like the background of today's teaching. Other Saturday maths, then, there's another level that some of you know, and that's like the direct content planning, where we talk about our 4Fs and our, what are the essential content, the power standards, da 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 da. So there's these content pieces, and I have been like spewing enough today. Like that's all like I don't want to go into more like heavy content, but just know as we come to the next Saturday math, we're going to look at the next layer of this that's going to be directly related to grade level content. But now I want to skip that and now I want to show you some practical things that you can use in your classroom. Now, actually, before I do that, so in our annual June event this year in June, we at Minds on Math unveiled our leveled system for math lessons and intervention. And you can take a screenshot or take a picture of this with your phone or whatnot right now if you'd like to. But not only do we have those pre-planning categories and where each experience fits and how we're cycling those every week to make sure that we have a very versatile, diverse type of instruction and delivery each week. Our content then are placed in different levels, but the levels are grade level overlapped. So, and each level is color coded. So, for example, what I'm going to show you today is going to be in multiple levels, but the extension of it is different. The way that we instruct on it is different in a level 5 than it is in a level 11. But I want you to keep in mind some of these stimulus that we use, actually, most of the stimulus that we use is in almost every single level. What we do with it is different, and that's what creates the definition of the level. So we've got these levels of tasks, lessons, experiences, stimulus. I call a lot of these a stimulus. Okay, a stimulus is just a number, it's a symbol, an equation, a story, a context, a situation, a picture. A stimulus is anything that's going to stimulate mathematical thinking. In order for it to be a high quality, high depth stimulus, we remove as much noise as possible. Noise is the words that go around it. Noise is any sentence or question that prompts answer getting and solving. That's noise. Because what we want a stimulus to do is stimulate mathematical thinking, reasoning, and sense making. We want to drive thinking, reasoning, and sense making through our stimulus, not answer getting and solving. The reason we want to do that is our brains are wired to answer, get, and solve. So that's going to happen anyway. Our brains really challenge thinking, reasoning, and sense making because it's harder work. It's more exhausting. That's why teachers are more exhausted than the students at the end of the day, because we do all the thinking, reasoning, and sense making. And the kids don't, because we don't prompt them to do that. We prompt them to answer, get, and solve. Answer, getting, and solving is actually less of a cognitive strain. And let me explain this. Answer, getting, and solving focus not only is less of a cognitive strain, but it does more damage on math achievement. If we focus too much on answer, getting, and solving, what happens is we separate kids into categories of I can do math, I can't do math. It's all based on us focusing our classrooms on answer, getting, and solving. So the way that the kids feel about their math ability is based on how I deliver the lesson and what I focus on. If answer, getting, and solving are most important in my classroom, you will always have kids that believe they're inferior to mathematics. But if thinking, reasoning, and sense making are the priority and focus in my classroom, you will be able to lessen that gap of how kids feel about their success rate with mathematics. For example, if I give a problem and I say, all right, solve this problem, and I'm going to do this a lot, but that's all I ever do, give a problem, solve this problem. As soon as kids in my classroom look at it, just based on bell curve, just based on just standard statistics, I'm going to have kids that are going to be like, I can do that. I'm going to have kids, I can't do that. because I'm asking them to do one thing, solve. Thinking, reasoning, and sense making gives a lot more flexibility. So there's a lot more personalization with that. Kids have a lot more options of what outputs they can give me. So there's not this I can't attitude. But if I give an answer getting solving prompt right away, you've separated kids into the kids who can and the kids who can't, or think they can and think they can't, and then a whole range of kids in between. We've already set up a need for heavy differentiation in the classroom. However, if I use a lot of stimulus that are focused on thinking, reasoning, and sense making, then there isn't an I can't. Everything now is at a level playing field, regardless of the actual student math ability. So the way that we are delivering and unintentionally focusing on answer getting and solving has been a long time deterrent to high student achievement. I've said a lot today. Thoughts, comments, questions. Unmute. Talk to me. Talk to me. What are you thinking? Where are you? Come on now. Talk to me. Nobody has anything to say. I'm reading the chat to make sure I haven't missed anybody hating on me or something. You know. You guys, you could talk about me. You could talk about me privately. You don't have to send it to everybody. So you can have fun with that. Awesome. Cool. Oh, Kirk, you coming back for June event next year? Good.
Of course I am.
Hey, we had a ball.
Yes, we did.
It was good time. There's just something different about learning together in the same location in person and bringing everybody together that we've seen each other online, and it was just really a treat. It's always a treat for me.
I
What
thought it was delightful.
Awesome. Awesome. So what I'm going to do now that you kind of know some of this background stuff and our leveled system, is I'm going to share my screen. And the one thing that I want to say right now is if you want, like, you come to Saturday Maths for free and get like all these nuggets, but if you want the actual training, like if you want to walk alongside me through my implementation, you'll want to join the Math Teacher Mastermind that we kick off on Thursday this week. It's always virtual. It's once a month on Thursdays. However, in August, it's every week because there's so much we do in the first month of school that is all front loaded. And then once a month after that is just for maintenance. So if you want to learn and get access to all of those leveled lesson slide decks, the Math Teacher Mastermind will get you access to so much more than a Saturday Math will. I do have a discount link that I'm going to share with you a little bit later today. There is a discount on the Mastermind that will expire at midnight tonight. So I will share that with you a little bit later today. But let me share my screen and show you what I mean by slide decks. So this is an example of a stimulus that I will be using very early on this school year. And I'll be using this stimulus with every grade level, from 5-year-olds to 15-year-olds. The same exact stimulus. Much of what we do to develop all of this is using dot patterns. Dot patterns are connected to mathematical symbols and notation. Dot patterns are the number one way that we improve number sense and fact fluency. Dot patterns is how we get kids to see number as shape. So it strengthens their core memory of number. And so you're going to see a lot of these dot images to teach dozens and dozens of standards. So if I say to my kids on the next slide, I'm going to show you some dots for a few seconds, take them away. I want to know how many dots you saw. Here's the dots. Kids can look at that and be like, holy cow, they know there's going to be a lot. Even with my kinders, I'm like, there's going to be a lot. You can't even count that high. And, I'm just going to present this differently depending on what age level of kids have. But this specific example goes with every single one of those colored levels. So then I'm going to ask kids, how many dots did you see? How were they arranged? We're going to do some instruction with that, blah, 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 blah. For my lower levels, we're going to then talk about maybe just the one chunk, because that one chunk is an array with some missing pieces. So I have a full array if I fill that in, and then I have a smaller array of the pieces that are missing. So right now, Amy, our first grade goodie, she's like, oh yeah, this is a good stimulus, because then what I'm going to do is, if this is Amy in her first grade classroom, she's just going to show one of these and say, tell me about this, and then gain the kid's perspective. See, this is a way we start to connect number to shape. We're going to use this shape to start to understand number, arrays, area, perimeter, like all of the content starts coming out through these dot images. And then Amy might say, oh, well, you know what? Instead of one of those, what if we have two of them? Okay. And then kids might start skip counting by how many are in one row. So they might fill in what's missing. They might fill in what's missing. And this is what we do in our slide decks. We give you all of these things that are already done so that you don't have to create these images, and you don't have to create the iterations of the images. So let me just show you an example of what I mean by that. This is another thing that our lovely Amy has developed and done. And this is jumping here. I'm skip counting by 13s, but I'm going to circle the numbers when I skip count by 13s, and I circle in a color circle. The number of circles are the number of skip counts. So here there are 6 circles. That's the 6th number when I'm skip counting by 13. See, everything is visual. It's color related. It's this isn't as concrete as some of our others, but you get the idea here. Our slide decks are designed to create this depth for you that no other material can do. You will get access to all of our slide decks through the Math Teacher Mastermind. You will get everything for every level and every grade level. You'll have these to use at the palm of your hands. And I wasn't going to teach on this today, and that's why the slides weren't there. But the slides are designed that I teach multiple lessons. So I could teach a lesson once a week on this image. And the prompts, the thinking, reasoning, and sense-making prompts will change so that I can use the same stimulus multiple times throughout the year, but target different standards. Now, if I'm a third grade teacher, so in K1-2, I'm focusing on these arrays. See, you're seeing me create all at once because I don't have this slide available. So you're seeing me create this. And a lot of times I'll create these things in front of students, or students will navigate and create these things too. It's all about touching and seeing and engaging and making it visual. But when I lost my train of thought. I don't know what I'm talking about right now. Back up. Third grade, that was it. Remember third grade? Third grade, arrays, area, perimeter, blah, blah, blah. In K1-2, I'm exposing kids to these things as visuals. And I might show a symbol here. I might show, remember that 4 parentheses 5? Look at that. I didn't even plan that. This array is set up that way. Gosh, I'm so good. So this symbol then can be represented by this dot image, but I'm showing these things. I'm exposing these things in K12, 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 K12. When I show the same exact thing in grade 3 now, we're expanding it to this, filling in the missing pieces, talking about 2 different arrays, 2 different size arrays. And the word array now turns into the word area. So if this array has 20 total dots, then the area of this rectangle is 20. Square units is how we do it. We're representing it with dots. I could draw on grid paper so that I can show the unit squares that the dots sit in. Then I can talk perimeter. So see, the same stimulus, exposures in K12, repeated addition of 4s, turn into arrays, turn into rectangle dimensions, K12, dimension 4 by 5, turn into rectangle dimensions. By grade 3, 4, arrays turn into area, dimensions, perimeter. Rectangle is 2 dimensions, so I have a height and a length. So now I'm doing a lot with area and perimeter. But then in 3rd, 4th grade and beyond, so in 3rd, 4th grade, I'm using this image as an area perimeter, but I'm also using it the same way I use it in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th algebra and algebra 2. I'm saying, okay, we saw this quick dot, we saw this image, but let's say one of those images is stage 2 of a growing pattern. Then this is going to be stage 1, and this is stage 1, 2, and 3 together. Tell me about the pattern. So I've used this same image at every level. Remember those colored levels? But the content that I'm teaching, the way that I'm delivering it, the way that I'm instructing it, because of the quality of my teaching. Remember, the number one factor in student achievement is the quality of the teacher. And the quality of the teacher depends on the depth of understanding of all standards and how those standards progress from one grade level to the next. And knowing how my grade level has to expose symbols from upper grades at an exposure level, but my grade level also can use the same exact stimulus as previous grades, but then increase the complexity of the content using that same exposure. What math questions can we create? Things like draw stage 4, draw stage 8. Are there twice as many dots in stage 8 as stage 4? Why or why not? Is this growing pattern linear or nonlinear? What does it look like on a coordinate plane? How many dots in stage 10? How does the stage number relate to the dimensions of the rectangles shown? Now, that is one tiny example of the practical lesson version of what I've set up here. And of course, we're missing this other layer, but it doesn't matter. You get the idea. And the reason I show that practical example is I share these practical examples all the time at Saturday Math. Every time you come to a Saturday Math, I share another grab and go practical example that you can be like, oh, I'm going to use that stimulus this week. Every Saturday Math, you'll get one. But on the Saturday Maths, I also talk about, and this year more explicitly and deliberately, I'm going to be talking about the categories of pre-planning that went into effect on that practical grab and go slide deck. And then you just take that slide deck and go and use it and implement it. But see, there's user error. If you implement our resources without these understandings, you are still not going to get the depth. And that's what I mean about grabbing something from Teachers Pay Teachers. The teacher that created that resource probably gets the depth of that resource in their classroom. But we, as a secondary implementer, we don't know all the thoughts that went into the planning on that resource. We can use it in our classroom, but we are often not going to get the depth of what that original teacher did with that resource. So when I give you these slide decks, just like you'd buy one off of Teachers Pay Teachers, it's essential to understand the pre-planning and planning, thinking and decision making that went into the resource that was created. Just like the textbooks. Textbooks are created with good intention, but you are not able to capture all of the thinking of the designers when you go to implement. So we're losing the depth. That is why when I say use textbooks, use Teachers Pay Teachers, use all of those things, but just know that your implementation of them is going to be much more shallow than the original creator. So when we at Minds on Math, when I give you a bunch of resources, your implementation of them, just like anything else, is going to be much more shallow, even though you have the grab and go resource, the slide decks. And actually, it's going to be less shallow than something else because our slide decks actually have all of the iterations of the thinking of the original creator, which is unique for our resources. However, when I teach on these things, you start to understand how to artfully implement and execute the resources that we're giving you so that you gain a really rich depth in your classroom of math experiences, a depth of the content, a depth of the standards. That's why we're able to teach all of our standards in less time. And if I show you our math teacher mastermind, this right now, I'm telling you, if you do nothing else professional development, this is what you're going to want to do this year. Project 2026 means that I'm joining the 2025-2026 school year math teacher mastermind, which is an elite mastermind. Don't worry that it says June. Some of us were at the June event. We did a lot of playing with mathematics, but in August, we're starting from square one. And Project 2026 means that you will have your kids mastering all of your content by March 1st, 2026. The first time we ever did a math teacher mastermind cohort group was called Project 2020. It started in June of 2019. Krista knows because she was there. Amy was there. So Project 2020 was our math teacher mastermind. The first ever we ever did started in June of 2019. Our goal was to get our kids to master all of our content by March 1st, 2020. We could have never even predicted what we were preparing for. It was coincidence at the ultimate level. So what we did is we used this model all through 2019, and we had, oh my gosh, we probably had 35 mastermind teachers in that cohort that year. And we went through the model, we followed, we had the monthly check-in. How did you implement? How did you do? Blah, blah, blah. Because with those monthly check-ins, you really only have to use our stuff maybe 3 or 4 times a month to get the depth of it. You could use it more often, but really, if you only have 2, 3, 4 times a month to implement any of our stuff through the mastermind, that's all you need. You don't need a daily thing. You don't. So everybody had different levels of implementation, but everybody had their kids conquered their curriculum before March 1st, 2020. Well, guess what happened on March 13th, 2020? The shot that was heard around the world. We met in our mastermind group virtually, and we said, no problem. We could quit the school year now. Our kids are good. Give us the test. Anything we did virtually with our kids the rest of March, April, and May was a bonus for us because our kids had everything already. I am telling you this because it happened and I'm still in complete shock. And with that model in that school year and what we were able to accomplish, and then what we've been able to do in years after that with masterminds, just continues to heighten the level. So the math teacher mastermind is where you're going to get the full intense training and you're going to get all of our resources. It's called Project 2026 because we teach more in less time. You can read all of this, blah, 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 blah. This is what you get, blah, 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 blah. Okay? These are all the dates. Now, the mastermind is $800 per person. So, because it's intense, you get a lot of value. You get our full leveled curriculum. You get access to everything. However, well, some of you on here, my friends, some of you on here, you're already in the mastermind because you're a certified coach. As a certified coach, you're a lifetime certified coach. You get to be in all of our masterminds for no extra charge. You've already paid your dues. So some of you on here, you're already in the mastermind. Okay. Those of you that went to June event, there was an email that was sent out. You got a special discount price for being at the June event. Then for those of you that went to one of our Tuesday events, you got a discounted link. Today, for being on Saturday Math, you have a special discounted link. And I'm going to put it in the chat right now. Of course, it should be here. And it's not. Okay, I've got the QR code. It doesn't matter. I've got the QR code. It's fine. Guys, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Where are you? I lost my Zoom. There you are. Hey, there you are. Farfig Nugan. Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the QR code. This expires at midnight. This QR code, instead of $800 a person, I mean, get your credit card and just buy this now. I mean, just buy one of them. And then if you purchase today before midnight, so you'll see on this purchase, it's $300. So just put your credit card in right now. $300 to join the entire mastermind, to have all of the resources, the whole curriculum, everything. Okay. So scan the QR code, go to the link. If you can't scan it or you miss it, email me. And on a follow-up email today, I will send to everybody that registered, look, this expires at midnight, put it in. If you purchase the mastermind, now don't do this if you're already in. Don't do this if you're already in or you have a different, cheaper discount code. Okay. Don't double pay. But if you don't know anything about this, this is the deal of a lifetime. Scan this QR code, get into our mastermind today before midnight. If you purchase today before midnight, even though this code expires at midnight, if you purchase and you want to bring more people at this price, I will allow you to do that. But someone has to purchase before midnight that's going to lead the gathering of other people. So scan that QR code, save it, get your credit card hot and heavy today. Get it going, people. Come on. Scan it. Instead of $800, it's $300. If you miss it,
I just put the link in the chat
I
for
will
everybody.
send you the link. And
I put the link in the chat, Jonalee.
Okay. So, oh, where'd you guys go again? So the mastermind, if you saw on the dates there, it kicks off this Thursday. Now, if you can't be at these sessions live, everything is recorded. You get the recorded links. You get the Google folder with all the resources. You don't have to be there live. But if you're there live, we do a lot of back and forth interaction. So you bring what you've implemented, and you could have as much or as little interaction as possible. Some of you are like, I just want to come and listen to all of the interaction. Some of you are like, I want to come because I want to share what I've implemented and I want to get specific feedback for my classroom. You get all of that. You get all of that. So if you come live, you get that. In August, we meet every week because front loading the school year is essential. If we don't start the school year off right, you almost have to wait till the next school year. So we've got to make this happen very intentionally in August. And then we meet once a month, almost once a month after that. It's virtual. They're always Thursdays, 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. You can come live. You still get the recordings. You can go back and look at it. Take a picture of that. Take a picture of those dates so you've got them. And through the mastermind is where oh, I didn't mean to stop sharing, is where these slide decks come into play with all the color-coded levels, et cetera, et cetera. And then I share with you my implementation of the previous month, some of these nuggets that I've done. And what I typically share is something like this that I actually did in all my grade levels. Remember, grade 2, 3, 4, 8, Algebra 1, Algebra 2. Krista and Natalie will do in 6th grade. Amy will do in 1st grade. We'll share we'll pick a stimulus, like a stimulus of the month. We'll all do it with all of our grade levels. And then we come back and talk about the ranges of instruction and the targets to dozens of standards that one stimulus was able to do in all of the different grade levels. So that's kind of how the mastermind works. It's a really deep implementation of the resources that you're getting and some customized coaching for those resources. Yes, let me paste. Oh, did someone already paste the full flyer? Oh, yep, I will upload the full. Oh my gosh, thank you, Sarah. Sarah, I know you, Miss Bloom Carroll. How are you, my friend? You don't have to answer, but oh my gosh, you're here today. Oh, I miss you so much. Sarah talked to Jody and Steve because I think your district is already doing this for everybody. Don't quote me. Connect with them. That's all I'll say. Because there's been some things going on behind the scenes to get back into your area. So, yep, let me upload the flyer right now so you can download it. Here we go. Okay, make sure you got it, Sarah. And then specifically for Sarah, yeah, they've been in touch with me for about 3 months now, if not more, probably since April. We've got some things brewing for you guys this year. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you or you're supposed to know that. But that is, I think that oh, hey, Tracy, you're welcome. Oh, she jumped. She, Tracy, I don't know. Anyway, Sarah, for you, contact them right away this week because we're working on finalizing things. And I think for all of your K-5 people, they are going to get access to the mastermind. I think I'm probably misspeaking, but anyway, jumpstart that for me. I need to follow back because we're final. I'm so excited right now. I'm so glad you're here. Okay. I seriously have no idea what I'm talking about anymore because I'm so excited that Sarah's here. Let me look at my notes. Okay, that is what I wanted to make sure that this session targeted were these weekly components. These are things we have to think about every week because if we rely too heavy on one, and if we rely too heavy on this, like the conceptual, then we're never going to get this. So it's always this catch-22. You can't rely too heavily on any one area, and that's what typical traditional mathematics does. We rely almost 100%, 97% on answer getting and solving, and we're deteriorating math achievement because of that. So there's a different way to do it, and I wanted to unleash this first level of pre-planning today. There's a second level of planning, which is much more content specific. And then there's a third level. And then every Saturday math, I will share an example of that practical grab and go, something that you can use in your classroom that month. However, oh, I closed my flyer. But anyway, however, the Math Teacher Mastermind is going to get you so much more than just a Saturday math. So if you were new here today, welcome. Welcome. Every Saturday Math is free. It's typically the first Saturday of the month. It's always free, but you must register every month on Eventbrite. The registration for the next month is not available until a few days after the previous month. So this week on Tuesday or Wednesday, will the registration on Eventbrite will be up for September's Saturday Math, and you can register. Here's what you need to do. Go to eventbrite.com where you registered for this. Go to eventbrite.com, find Minds on Math, and follow Minds on Math. Because if you follow Minds on Math at eventbrite.com, then anytime the new registration goes live for the next Saturday Math, you will get an email alert from Eventbrite. And then just keep checking your spam folder, like make a weekly habit of checking your spam folder, because now that you've been to a Saturday Math, you will get emails from me, but a lot of schools block our company email because of safety and, spamming and all that kind of stuff. So, and even if you're a regular, from now through October, weekly check your spam because they re-up those security things at the beginning of the school year. So even if my emails go through to you, they're going to stop going through to you. You have to check your spam and keep opening them and saying, yes, this is from a trusted person. So just get in the habit of weekly for the next couple months, checking your spam for any updates that are coming in. But the best way to find out about Saturday Maths and when the registration is up is to go to eventbrite.com and follow Minds on Math. And then you'll get the alert from Eventbrite that typically doesn't end up in the spam section. So our next Saturday Math will be the first Saturday of September. The registration will be up midweek this week. I will follow up with you with an email with the slide deck link that I shared with you, that example today, so you can get that. And
Tier 1 interventions workshop. The first one kicks off August 16th.
Perfect.
So Teresa was asking me, it's August 16th for those of you who are in that program.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Perfect, my friends. This has been a pretty heavy duty Saturday Math. If you haven't thought about school for this year yet, no, Teresa retired and she's leaving for cruise tomorrow. And you know what? You're not thinking about it, but you showed up today. You internalized all of it. It'll be spinning in your subconscious. You'll be hearing my voice while you're on your cruise. You don't worry.
Listen, I've been thinking about you since we talked. Let me tell you, I
We
have
did.
so much. I cannot tell you this kind of I can't even tell you what I'm thinking. I'm bringing stuff with me.
Oh
I
my
am bringing
gosh, I
stuff.
love you.
I can't, you got me thinking. I'm in bed. I'm like, oh, my brain is like, I'm Googling. I can't even tell you. So you've got like, I'm covering K. So don't even worry about K. I'm covering K because I have my brain thinking.
I love it. Teresa and I had a really good one-on-one for certified coaches
Yeah.
last week or a couple weeks ago, and it
Yeah.
was fantastic. So
Yeah.
this probably was a good addition to
It was.
what we talked about. I mean, I think things are falling into place.
Yeah. Oh, big time, big time.
That's
It
awesome.
answered a few questions and it made me see these components, but I've already got them covered. So it's
You're
working.
awesome. You're awesome. So yeah, so we I know some of you are like, okay, yeah, we've been doing this for the last couple months, but if you haven't and you haven't thought about this school year yet, I know you're probably going to get off here and go, "Oh my gosh, the school year's happening." But hopefully you're excited that you're like, "Oh, I could kick this off a little different this year and I could teach more in less time and just have fun with the math and not be so stressed and so much pressure." In April when testing comes, because she's promising me that we'll be done by March, and we will. Actually, as a matter of fact, I always get done before winter break, end of December. I can't wait till March. Like I got to knock this stuff out. So I always condense it a little bit more. But thank you everybody for being here today. You are fantastic, absolutely excellent. I'll see you at next Saturday's math, but most importantly, I hope to see you at this Thursday's kickoff Yes, Karen. When I follow up with you, the certificate will come for an hour and a half contact hours. That was the other thing on my list. Thank you so much. The certificate of attendance will come in my follow up email. So, yes, yes, yes. Is there a flyer for tier one? Yes, yes, yes. You know what? I'll follow up with a bunch of things in my follow up email, more than what you ever want. I'll explain them in a checklist, put all the links and all the attachments, and I'll get you everything you need in the next couple of days. You guys are awesome. Have a great start to the school year, and we'll see you next Saturday. Bye, everybody.